Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
September 19th, 2011 marks 4 years of broadcasting for the Global Reality Show. In that time, we've exposed many important and invaluable pieces of information concerning the global power structure, hidden and occult text, ancient archaeology, secret societies, ETs, the priest class, and so much more. With no outside funding, sponsors, or advertisement, this places all the well-being of our work and research into the hands of people like you. In order to continue our work and to make it bigger and better, the Global Reality is having a 4-year anniversary fundraiser to take our quest of information critical mass to a new and before unseen level. Unfortunately, technology becomes aged and not much is left after paying operating costs each month. This is a very critical time to reach people, and with your financial support, we can redouble our efforts. Please visit www.theglobalreality.com today and make a safe and secure donation using our chip and banner or PayPal donate button at the site. Why give your support to a phony political stooge when you can support real underground media by the people? I'm Josh Reeves, and this is the Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. So glad you could be with us. September 6th, 2011 into September the 7th, 2011 for you here tonight. And we're going to be getting into some news of the day. Not a lot of news here today, so we'll get through what we have to get through tonight. We'll also be continuing to read The Lost Book of Inky. It looks like we're probably going to be finishing that this week, getting pretty close out there. I'm also going to be taking suggestions on what to read next. We've gotten a few in. But I'd like to sort of continue on in sort of the same area, because we did William Bramley's Gods of Eden. Now we've done The Lost Book of Inky. I like to sort of stay in that. Somebody suggested with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I'll look into that. But, yeah, you can send suggestions for the next book reading. If I find something I think is interesting, I'll definitely read that and take your suggestion. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's where you can send those over, and be definitely happy to consider everything that's sent over there. So definitely send those over. This broadcast originates from my website, www.theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. That's where this broadcast originates from. The stream links there to listen to the stream. And again, if you're not listening live, or you can't listen live, my stream runs pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And sometimes when we have technical issues or other things like that, stuff goes down, or I get busy doing something and there's, not enough stuff in there, it might go down. But we broadcast the show immediately following the live show every night. It pretty much runs 24 hours until the next broadcast. And then on the weekends and stuff, we do basically marathons of the entire week's broadcast, as well as some other stuff, late night stuff. We play some old Red Eye stuff sometimes. We'll play Bill Cooper sometimes. We play a lot of stuff. So definitely check out the live stream, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's all kinds of stuff listening. If you can't happen to catch a live show, it's a good way to tune in, and you never know what you're going to hear over there. So that's on the stream at theglobalreality.com. You can also find the chat room where you can come in and interact with other people listening live to the show tonight there in the chat room. So big shout out to everybody in there. Love to have emails from you tonight. Not any, I don't think I have anything in the bag here tonight. So if you'd like to get an email in tonight, you'll get priority service. You got a question, you got a comment, got something you want me to read on air, something like that, send it in. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's where you send your emails in tonight. I've noticed, and I know you have as well, the past couple of weeks, I think, for instance, yesterday we had a gargantuan stack of news. Today, not so much, not nearly as much. But I've noticed that a lot of the stuff, it's all being geared towards the same thing. The big discussions now are the elections, the economy, 9/11. And this 9/11 stuff, I got to tell you, is really, it's just really making me ill, a lot of it. I mean, they're just, the amount of psychological operations, they have not stopped using 9/11 as a psyop. That's, you don't know what my big comment is? That's my big comment for the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. I guess I haven't really given that yet. Well, let me give it to you now. That's my big comment for the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 right there. In 10 years since this event took place, they have not for one moment ceased using this event as a massive means of psychological operation on all fronts. They're still selling their war effort with that. They're still selling their enslavement grid with that. They're still selling everything on that. And anybody with half a brain looks at 9/11, looks at how our country has gone since then. We got Jan Napolitano and other people. We've had rousing success since 9/11. We're much safer now. But that's an absolute lie. I don't know how anybody who even believes in the myth of phony Al-Qaeda and all that stuff, I don't know how even those people can now look at this stuff and look at how the situation has progressed in the past 10 years and believe that if it is true, if they believe it is true that Al-Qaeda attacked us and they hate us for our freedoms and blah, 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 this, that, and the other, it'd be hard. I don't know how these people cannot think that we've been defeated. We've become a shadow of ourselves as a country over the past 10 years. Now, I know it was going that way long before that, but the decline happened a lot faster after 9/11. And that's all I see being trotted out right now on all these, everywhere. All major news sites, independent media sites, and, these... I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't stopped talking about 9/11 over the past 10 years that now that it's been 10 years and everybody wants to talk about it again, I'm just kind of like, I fucking don't even want to talk about it. It could be that. I don't know. But I think a lot of it has to do with just I don't know. That whole idea that something's not an issue or even, the past 10 years, I can't tell you how much grief I've gotten from all kinds of people for wanting to, continue to discuss 9/11 and continue to discuss what happened there. And much in the same way that people, after the Kennedy assassination, many people, saw obvious glaring things there and started pointing that out. They were told not to talk about it. It wasn't polite. They didn't want to bring it up. But it's funny how over the past 10 years, nobody's really wanted to discuss the 9/11 issue or anything that might contradict what we were told on TV about those events. And yet now, when it becomes time for a 10-year anniversary, then all of a sudden everybody's an expert. And everybody's ready to talk about it. I found it that way around the elections last time, too. People, I would try to get to talk about politics and talk about information and stuff. Didn't want to talk about it any other time. All of a sudden, the the Obama smooth-talking pimp campaign comes running through town, and all of a sudden, everybody's a political expert. Everybody has an opinion. And I mean, I've seen them rolling out so many psychological operations over the past couple of days with all this 9/11 stuff. They came out with some video, the earliest video of Flight 93, you know, and you can see, you know, the smoke trail and all this stuff. Still nobody's shown us a plane. Still nobody's shown us a speck of blood. It's going to all come out one day. But again, as I've said for the longest time, all this stuff is being allowed to come out because they want to pin this down on the United States of America. Mossad and MI6 and the rest of the world's power structure will go on without even a slap on the wrist because they're going to use us just like we used Oswald. Oswald has kind of become the poster child. We've sort of become it's sort of a metaphor for what America is now, really, isn't it? We're being Oswalded. We're being Patsy by these globalist fucking bastards who have used us as an engine to get their agenda done. And when they're done with us, they're going to set us up, declare us the evil empire, bring us down, and move on with history like they always do with every other regime. And we just get up every day and go about our business. But there's been so much of this crap. I mean, I saw, you know, some thing with the Mark Bingham's supposed mother standing in front of it. She still looks... 10 years later, Mark Bingham's alleged mother still looks like some fucking homeless woman they pulled off the street and mind controlled and gave money to and made up this story. Hi, Mom, Mark Bingham here. I'm on an airplane and we're being hijacked. You know, hi, Mom, this is Mark Bingham. I was like on the front of Yahoo. I said, are they still touting that fucking hoax? Cell phones didn't work at that feat. I mean, my God, IBM had the technology 12 years ago to make anybody's voice in there. I remember reading about that in a music magazine 13, 14 years ago, late 90s. And it talked about, and I've never been able to find this article online. It was in an actual, brick and mortar magazine. It wasn't online at the time. But I've gone back and tried to find that article online, look for it, can't find anything about it. It was an article, I think it was like a music, like a Guitar World magazine or some kind of music magazine. And it talked about how over the next 10 years from that point, which would have been, 98 or 99, all the way up till, the past couple of years, that over the next decade, they were going to have, through this new voice morphing technology that, like, just much like they talked about was used with this Mark Bingham character, they were going to be able to take samples of dead people's voices, like Elvis or, Kurt Cobain or, John Lennon was who they used the example of. And that they would actually be able to create new Beatles songs and new John Lennon songs with John Lennon singing them with his voice programmed into an algorithm. They could make it say any words they wanted to. And it would be uber realistic and model his vocal characteristics and all that stuff. And we never really heard anything about that, did we? But they were talking about it as if it was a foregone conclusion. That means that somebody was developing that. It was probably coming about right about that time. And then, boom, it probably got picked up by DARPA or the Defense Department or somebody like that, and then taken and used for military purposes. But I have been flabbergasted by and not only is everybody dredging up all this past stuff of 9/11, they're also trying to use it as an attempt to propagandize and put people in fear of another, new 9/11 style attack coming at any time now. And yeah, I mean, if they did pull off another attack, it'd be perfect for them. They've got to have something. They really want something, as they have for many years now, to be able to get into Iran. And, it's that's really what they're looking for. Now, do I say that I believe that something's going to happen between now and 9/11? I don't know. I'm not going to get into making predictions. I make predictions all the time that I don't mean to make, and then they end up coming true, and it takes somebody else to point it out for me. For instance, last night I said on the show, just, casually, those of you that listened to the show last night can verify this for me. I said, what's tomorrow, meaning today? 9-6-11. Well, there you go, 9-6-11. I said, any of our numerologically inclined listeners out there will be able to go crazy on the significance of that. Somebody sends me an email today and says, boom, did you see this? Apparently there was a massive shooting going on that went on today at an IHOP. 4 people dead. Carson City, Carson City, Nevada? Yeah. Ken Furlong confirms that a 4th victim of today's shooting at the IHOP restaurant located in South Carson City has died. The victim was a female member of the Nevada National Guard. She had been flown to renowned medical center and had undergone surgery. To date, 4 victims have died, 3 Nevada National Guard members and 1 civilian. The shooter has also died. So yet again, we have the lone nut gunman. They'll probably come out and say this guy was a Tea Partier or something of that nature. But, that happens all the time. You look at numbers, you look at how this stuff goes, you look at the climate, you see something's probably going to happen. It doesn't mean, me or anybody else has special abilities to predict the future. But a lot of these people, man, they're ambulance chasers, in my opinion. A lot of these people want something to happen. They want there to be a new 9/11 so they can, false flag, and say that word all over and over again when most of them they don't even know what it means. They just repeat things they heard Jonesy say. It's funny. There was a one of these news stories about 9/11 that I saw last night, and it was about some website that's the Internet Archive or something that's uploaded all these thousands of hours of 9/11 footage. And there was a quote in there. This is so fucking hilarious. And I've seen this before in the past, although I wasn't aware that it was as widespread as it is. Although I have ran into several people before. And I'm thinking about maybe going out with my video camera sometime, maybe going to Dealey Plaza and asking people this question and see how many I get to get it right and how many I get to get it wrong. Because and like I said, I was reading this article about 9/11 in the Internet Archive of this video footage from 9/11, and the guy from the archive site said, 9/11 is one of the most historic things ever to happen on television. He starts listing examples, and he says, the moon landing and Watergate trial and the Kennedy assassination. And I commented on this article, the Kennedy assassination didn't happen on TV. That's because it didn't. But I'll be goddamned if there was like 8 people literally that put thumbs down on my comment and left comments said, yes, it did. It did too happen on TV. I watched it. And then they pulled it off later. That's absolutely not true. And I've actually ran into people, real people that believe that, or are old enough to have been alive when it happened. Other people who, funnily enough, who weren't old enough to be alive when it happened. But I argue with so many people who swear up and down to me that the Kennedy assassination was shown on TV when it absolutely was not. Now, they talked about it and said that it happened and announced it, but no one saw the Zapruder film until Robert Groden, who I have in my first film, 9/11 New World Rising. On March 6, 1975, Robert Groden and Geraldo Rivera, Jerry Rivers, had a TV special, and that was the first time that the general public had seen the Zapruder film up to that time, 1975. So Kennedy's assassinated in 63, but they did not show any of the Zapruder stuff on TV until 1975. That's a fact. But it boggles my mind that there are people out there, running around that actually believe that the Kennedy assassination happened on television. That's just mind-blowing to me. And they'll argue up and down with you. Oh, I saw it on TV. That's what somebody left a comment. I saw it on TV. No, afraid not. Afraid you didn't. Afraid you're mistaken. Unbelievable. Oh, and now they're trotting out more of these moon fables. New high-resolution pictures taken by an orbiting NASA camera show clear evidence of man's lunar explorations nearly 40 years ago. After the last spacecraft touched down on the moon, the agency said on Tuesday. So now they're trotting this out. We want to make sure you get high-definition pictures. We want to make sure you can see the footprints and all this stuff. And again, how are we supposed to believe that these even came from a real satellite? We have no way to verify that, do we? No, but they just trot it out into the media, and we're just supposed to say, okay, yeah, I believe you, thanks. Media always tells the truth, it never lies. Yeah, thanks. I'm starting to get the idea that Rick Perry might be a firebug, a fucking firebug, an arsonist, fucking upset. I don't know. We had the shady dealings where the governor's mansion caught on fire, and I always just suspected fucking Perry was behind that from the beginning. And then we have the taxpayers now paying, $600,000 a year for Perry to stay in this rent a mansion or whatever it is. And I think they ended up pinning that stuff on two activists or something of that nature. But now we've had all these crazy wildfires in Texas. I don't know if you guys have noticed this where you live, but I've noticed that there's always been, every time there's wildfires, there's mass amounts of chemtrail spraying going on just days before this happens. And these wildfires are always connected to high winds. And we always see these high winds being created once we see the chemtrail planes come over. But I think Perry's a firebug, man. I think, and they say they're suspecting arson in these wildfires we're having here in Texas. Perry probably had one of his goons set it on fire so he could, grandstand. But listen to this. He also cut the funding of the Texas fire departments by 75% in this year alone. And then this happens, and I mean, this is great. This is, as I described many times on this show, the disaster economy. That's the new economy. I've told you guys this for a very long time now on the show. You can go and Google Josh Reeves disaster economy and find some of the other stuff I've talked about it, but where I detail it more than that. But this is what we're seeing. FEMA's in bed with this. Walmart and the home improvement centers are down with this. This is what we call the disaster economy. Create a perpetual market off of disasters. Be it terrorist attacks, natural disasters, earthquakes. They're loving this, man. This is the new economy for them. This is creating jobs, creating rebuilding, giving the ability for people to, who are poor, who live in these houses. Well, what they do is when, and this happened out in Malibu, California, where, out in, on the West Coast where a lot of rich people live. And it wasn't the rich people that lost their homes. It was like the poor people, the people that work at the dry cleaners and the cafes and stuff. But in every case, and of course in New Orleans as well, in every case, what they do whenever there's a natural disaster, especially where poor people are living, and some of these areas in Texas, in East Texas and Central Texas where this is happening at, there's a lot of poor people there. I got a lot of family in East Texas, and East Texas is a very poor part. It's very rural, not a lot of jobs, and a lot of poor folks out there. But what they do is it seems like these wildfires and these disasters always strategically seem to happen where mass amounts of poor people live. So once their houses are destroyed and they pay out to them, and sometimes these people don't have insurance, well, immediately after that, they jack the value of that property up way high so that the people who are going to rebuild there can't afford to rebuild, and then that goes on the market for a much higher price. It's a big scam. Under Governor Rick Perry this year, Texas slashed one state funding for the volunteer fire departments that protect most of the state from wildfires, like the ones that have recently destroyed more than 700 homes. Volunteer departments that were already facing financial strain were slated to have their funding cut from $30 million to $7 million. The majority of Texas is protected by volunteer fire departments. There are 879 volunteer fire departments in Texas and only 114 paid fire departments. Another 187 departments are a combination of volunteer and paid. For that reason, aid from the Federal Emergency Management Agency could be more important than ever to the state where wildfires have recently been raging. At a press conference Monday, Perry promised to seek federal disaster relief and said that FEMA would be in the state by Wednesday. While the Texas governor has been highly critical of FEMA in the past, he told CBS Erica Hill Tuesday that now is not the time to be worrying about reforming the agency. So again, political grandstanding. This is going to be an opportunity to be a showdown over FEMA, left, right. I mean, they're just, they'll turn the people losing their homes and people dying from these fires into another political debate. That's what they always do. That's what they're good for. And what do you expect from a dog but fleas? And they are continuing to crack down these airlines. I mean, my God, here we are 10 years after 9/11, and what's happening? Are we stopping terrorists and people like that from getting on planes or from causing? No. Boy, what do we always hear about? Some citizen who's been violated or, Billy Joe Armstrong not pulling his pants up. I mean, really. These guys are so bored because there's nothing going on because the terrorists are fucking phony government agents. And unless they provocateur or something, no real terrorist event happens, that they're picking on old, geezer punk rockers or people who don't turn their cell phones off. Man, every time I go to a movie, which is rarely, once or twice, maybe a year, but every time I go to a movie, they always show on the screen, turn your cell phones off. And there's always assholes in there turn their cell phones off. Now, we would all enjoy it if some goon would come out probably and smack that asshole over the head and drag him out to the fucking floor by his hair and kick him and his cell phone out the door. But what do? Nobody does anything. But here again, just like Billy Joe Armstrong on Southwest Airlines, police in El Paso, Texas arrested a Southwest Airlines pilot or a passenger on a flight from Phoenix after he refused to turn off his cell phone. Southwest Airlines spokesman Whitney Eschinger told Dallas told the Associated Press Tuesday that the man turned his cell phone on as flight 1833 landed at about 5:45 p.m. in El Paso on Monday. Eichinger said when the man was asked to turn his phone off, he did not, and when the plane pulled up to the gate, El Paso authorities met him at the aircraft. Well, if the plane had just landed and he turned it on, who cares? He had it off the whole flight. I don't get that. So that was enough for them to have goons waiting for this guy when he gets off the plane? This is all about that, because, look, I'm one of those, I am that asshole. I hate to have to tell you this, and that's the problem is that we don't have enough assholes anymore. But I am that asshole. If I go somewhere and somebody fucks my food up or they fuck my order up or whatever else, I'm going to go say something about it. People now, I've seen people go and actually spend money on something and it'll be fucked up and it'll be blatantly the person who made its fault. And they'll just go, oh, no, don't worry about it. Oh, no, just eat it anyway, blah, blah. No, man. If you paid for something and somebody fucked up and didn't get it right, just go tell them. What's so hard about that? I don't understand that. And that's what they want. They want people to just shut up, not make waves, not say anything, put your head down and just go about your business. That's what be a good little sheep, be a good little slave, obey the master. El Paso International Airport spokesman Jeff Schultz tells the El Paso Times officials interviewed witnesses who were on board the flight. The man's name and other details were not released. So I just don't get that. So anything now, and I think this is all about, they're making it very clear who they're going to allow to fly. They're making it very clear who they're going to allow to travel. I mean, this is neo-feudalism. This is the new serfdom. The haves and the have-nots. And the haves will be the people who go along with the system, obey, do what big brother and big sister tells them to do, don't make waves, think like we tell you to think, and you're going to be fine. But if you start to continue to have this idea that somehow, you know, you don't have to do what the state tells you to do, and oh no, they're gonna keep making sure that you understand that. And you know, talking about this bullshit about, I mean, I just don't understand how we've been reduced to these uncommunicating pieces of garbage, you know. And why don't you just walk up to this guy? I mean, maybe that says something about your skills. Did they bother explaining to the guy why he couldn't have his cell phone on? You know, he waited till the plane landed. The plane lands. They're on the runway. He said, okay, flight's over. I'm turning it on. They couldn't explain to him, hey, man, the rule is you can't turn it on until you get off the plane, blah, blah, blah. It's safety hazards. We're afraid somebody might have a detonator for a bomb or whatever have you. But just give the guy a story. And then if he violates it, okay, well, you know. But just turning a cell phone on, I don't know how that, I mean, that's just part of this mentality of getting everybody to you know, you do what you're told to do at all times. What's going on with these fucking emo bands, man? Remember a couple of months ago we talked about, and it's another example of, you know, some fucktard. I guess that's why they call them emos, because they can't express themselves. They had to cut themselves and cry and wear, you know, Robert Smith black eyeliner. But remember a few months ago we talked about that crappy emo band Coheed and Cambria, who had their stupid ass bass player who, you know, I mean, my God, you're in a rock band, dude. You're playing fucking stadiums and shit. You can get any kind of drug you want brought to you, delivered, and probably brought to you on some hooker's ass if you want it that way. What's this idiot do? He goes out and phones in a bomb threat to a fucking pharmacist for some OxyContin, takes a cab there and takes a cab back to his fucking tour bus. They got this shit all on tape. Like, what's going on with this? Does emo music already automatically make you an idiot? And then the guy from, what's the name for that man? Bullet for my, is it? Oh, can't even remember the name of that band now. Is it Bullet for My Valentine or some crappy shit like that? I can't even remember the name. Yeah, so now this guy gets fired for this guy gets fired for stealing something. My Chemical Romance, that's who it was. Stealing from the band, and then they come back and they say, he comes back with his story. They put out the story that says, My Chemical Romance fired drummer with sticky fingers for being a thief and stealing from the band, right? Then he issues a statement, comes out and says, no, what was going on is I had a problem with one of the road crew, and I couldn't speak my mind and speak up and tell that person, hey, man, I think you're a dick, or hey, man, I got a problem with you. And so instead, he was attempting to sabotage this guy and make him look incompetent. So it appeared that he'd stolen things when he didn't. I mean, how pussy can you get? What is up with these emo guys, man? I mean, I know they play crappy music. And not only that, calling a style, I mean, all music is emo, isn't it? I'm emo. I mean, that's some bullshit, you know, label that was created by, you know, the multinational corporations that run the malls and run Hot Topic as, you know, the further extension of the pussification of men. You know, let's get them all, you know, androgynous looking. I mean, you know, the 70s glam thing, I got that. I understood that. I understood what that was about. The whole emo thing, man, it's like, I mean, emo means emotional, right? Well, my God, isn't all music supposed to be emotional? Only a whiny crybaby who doesn't know how to express himself properly would try to create a new genre of music called emo. Yeah, you're so emo you can't express your feelings. That's not emo. That's not emotional. If you're emotional and you're a real person, you can express your feelings in an honest way. So that whole title of that is, of that style of music is redundant and ridiculous to me. Yeah, you can't even express yourself, but you're so emo. I'm so emo. I can't express my feelings, so I cut myself. And I snort Oxycontin. That's how emo I am. Christ, we used to just call them goths. You guys had to start a whole subsection of that now? Yeah, man, I'm not a goth. I'm an emo. And then you got the steampunkers now, too. Steampunk is what happens when goths find the color brown, by the way. I'm goth, emo, steampunk, man. I'm all three. But God damn. I mean, are we really still participating in labels and cliques? And I mean, I just can't believe that in this day and age, people are still subscribing to cliques and genres, and it's just, I mean, just be who you are. We're going to create a separate subgenre of music that sucks worse than regular music. We're going to call it emo. And we're going to be bands that are whiny crybabies. How about that? I mean, all music is supposed to be emotional, you know? That's why we listen to it. That's why I listen to music. It stirs emotion, whether it's anger or whether it's love or whether it's, you know, excitement or rage, happiness, whatever it may be. Music is inherently emotional. Again, you know, only those kind of titles and those kind of things like that and memes can only be created by people who've never played an instrument. That's just my 2 cents. Check this out, man. This guy right here looks real proud of himself. I got to put a picture of this guy. This guy is looking out into the sun. He's looking out his window. That guy right there looks like a happy camper. I mean, he looks like look how smug he is. Look at the smug look on his face. That guy is happier than a pig in shit about something. Well, I'm about to tell you what it is. Cynthia Daly and her partner used a sperm donor to conceive a baby 7 years ago, and they hoped that one day their son would get to know some of his half-siblings, an extended family of sorts for modern times. So Mrs. Daly searched a web-based registry for other children fathered by the same donor to help create an online group to track them. Over the years, she watched the number of children grow in her son's group and grow. Today, there are 150 children, all conceived with sperm from one donor. In this group of half-siblings and more are on the way. It's wild when we see them all together. They all look alike. So now you see why that guy's got that smug look on his face. That dude, yeah. I mean, he shot his wad in a cup over 150 times, and each one of those got inseminated in somebody. Look at that guy. He's happy with himself. Dude loves jerking it in a cup, though. I mean, bro, I got to give it to you, man. I mean, you got that look on your face. I mean, that dude looks happy as fuck, man. He's like, fuck yeah, I'll shoot my shit in a cup. No problem. I'm going to look out here at this sun. Oh, it's so pretty. But yeah, by the way, I'll shoot my shit in a cup for you. No problem. Jesus Christ. And check this out, though. This is to me the most interesting part of it. Now there's a growing concern among parents, donors, and medical experts about potential negative consequences of having so many children fathered by the same donors, including the possibility that genes for rare diseases could be spread more widely through the population. Some experts are even calling attention to the increased odds of accidental incest between half-sisters and half-brothers who often live close to one another. What's so ridiculous about this is the whole idea that, oh, we never thought of that. Sure you didn't. Sure you didn't. That's what all this, these polygamous sects and stuff that were set up where, these guys were fathering hundreds of children from, all these different women and all this stuff. And there's been massive operations going on, DNA operations going on, testing what happens when certain people are genetically breed with others, see what kind of other results they've been getting. The government's been running these operations for years. Black Ops doing this stuff for a very long time. And this whole idea that, well, we couldn't possibly have even thought about in advance what would have happened if we had Just one guy shoot his stuff in a cup 150 times, and then 150 different women had kids. We never thought about there might be a chance these kids may meet in the future and have incest. Sure, you didn't. This smells like a massive, massive operation, a big-time, genetic test to see what kind of results they get. It's interesting nonetheless. Video game allows players to slaughter Tea Party zombies like Sarah Palin and Bill O'Reilly. That's kind of funny because a couple of years ago, I said on my show that I was going to invent a video game called, let's hunt and kill Rockefellers and Rothschilds. And, you're going to go hunting. Your game was going to be about going and hunting different members of the elite and killing them in brutal manners. That looks like somebody's been listening. The controversial online video game Tea Party Zombies Must Die allows players to slaughter Tea Partiers and famous conservatives with a wide variety of weapons. The graphic, offensive, and violent game was created by Starving Eyes Advergaming, but does not have any obvious connections to or advertise it for any other group. So just what you've always wanted, just in time for Christmas. Let's kill us a Tea Partier on the Xbox. All right. UBS quantifies costs of euro breakup, warns of collapse of banking system and civil war. So see how this is going beyond what a lot of people have expected up to this point. They're trying to cause an all-out collapse. This is the Ordo Ab Chaos system coming to fruition right before our eyes, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing the order out of chaos right here. Create the chaos of the ensuing order. They come in and set up a brand all new order. They've done this before. They're doing it again right now. And we're starting to see the possibility of this happening both on the North American continent and in Europe and in the UK and Britain as well. Anytime a major bank releases a report saying a given course of action is too costly, too prohibitive, too blonde, or simply too impossible, it is nearly guaranteed that this is precisely the course of action about to be undertaken, which is why all non-Euro skeptics are advised to shield their eyes and look away from the just-released report by UBS titled Euro Breakup, The Consequences. UBS conveniently sets up the straw man as follows. Under the current structure, with the current membership, the euro does not work. Either the current structure will have to change, or the current membership will have to change. So far, so good, yet where it gets scary is when UBS quantifies the actual opportunity cost to one or more countries leaving the euro, notably Germany. We're a stronger country such as Germany to leave the euro. The consequences would include corporate default, recapitalization of the banking system, and collapse of international trade. If Germany were to leave, and we believe the cost to be around 6,000 to 8,000 euros for every German adult and child in the first year, in a range of 3,500 to 4,500 euros per person per year thereafter. That is the equivalent of 20% to 25% of GDP in the first year. It would also mean the end of UBS, but we digress. Where it gets even more scary is when UBS, like many other banks to come, succumbs to the mutual assured destruction trope made so popular by old Hank Paulson. The economic cost is in many ways the least of the concerns investors should have about a breakup. Fragmentation of the euro would incur political costs. Europe's soft power influence internationally would cease as the concept of Europe as an integrated polity becomes meaningless. It is also worth observing that almost no modern fiat currency monetary unions have broken up without some form of authoritarian or military government or civil war. So you see, save the euro for the children so we can avoid all-out war and UBS can continue to exist. The scariest thing, however, by far, is that for this report to have been issued, it means that Germany is now actively considering dumping the euro. So there you go. Financial Armageddon seems to be the topic of the day, doesn't it? You guys out there see that movie, The Island? Anybody ever see that? Ewan McGregor and what's her name? Derek Jeter Herpes Tree. What's her name? It's either here or there. But anyway, yeah, they're these people on this island, and they're it's kind of like THX 1138 or Logan's Run or something like that. You know, they live in this dome, and they're told that all the world's been nuked except one small area called the island, and they have a lottery every day, and certain people get to go to the island. Well, come to find out, all it's just a hoax, and they're just lied to, and these people are actually insurance policies, clones of different individuals that are made in case one day they need a transplant. Boom, they go slaughter the clone and harvest the organ, and boom, there you go. It's a good movie. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. But I think it came out in like 2005, 2007, something like that. I can't remember. But here we go. It's right here. It's right here in reality now, just a few short years later. From the Daily Mail, spare body parts could be grown in factories in years after scientists implant lab-produced organs in humans. Spare human parts grown in laboratories could be just years away after scientists discovered more than 20 ways of growing organs. They have already grown the bladder, the urethra, and windpipe, which have been implanted into patients during clinical trials. Now scientists have set their sights on replicating more complicated organs, including the heart, kidneys, liver, pancreas, and thymus. The advances could extend life expectancy and cut waiting times for transplants. The developments were detailed at a conference on rejuvenation technologies at Cambridge University. And this is going to be the big breakthrough moneymaker of the 21st century. They've been alluding to this in movies like Repo Man and others like it. This idea that, you know, I mean, they're intentionally doing this. They're pumping the food and the water and the air full of all kinds of things that's damaging to our organs, because they know that in a few short years they're going to have an organ market on their hands. And again, it's going to be the haves and the have-nots. If you've got the money and you've got the money to play in their system and play their game and do what they tell you to do, well, you're all right. You'll get a replacement organ. If you don't and you want to be against the world order and not have their government-issued health care, well, you're just going to have to croak, and that's the way it is. More stuff coming out about, we've seen so many articles on this topic, just like we've seen tons of articles on extraterrestrials and plenty of articles on the moon and all this stuff. It all seems like there's just a big lead up to more scientific revelations coming out very soon that have the possibility of shaking things up on this planet. Ancient humans were mixing it up anatomically with modern humans inbred with more archaic hominin forms while in Africa. It is now widely accepted that the species Homo sapiens originated in Africa and eventually spread throughout the world. But did those early humans inbreed with more ancestral forms of the genus Homo? For example, Homo erectus, the upright walking man; Homo habilis, the tool-using man; or Homo neanderthalensis, the first artist of cave painting fame. Direct studies of ancient DNA from Neanderthal bones suggest interbreeding did occur after anatomically modern humans had migrated from their evolutionary cradle in Africa to the cooler climates of Eurasia. And all this stuff makes a lot more sense to me now, because we've been thinking of this stuff so linearly. You know, we've been thinking of the out of Africa theory and, you know, migrating out of Africa, going to one part of the world and blah, 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 and then that's it. But what I've found fascinating about our reading from the Lost Book of Enki is that we're finding out that indeed what many have speculated for many years appears to be true, that the Africa scenario and the Africa event was just one of many, because these Anunnaki had spread out throughout the earth and been set up shop throughout different areas, and then spread out from there, that you had different moments of these type of events going on. To me, that once I started reading that, it made a lot more sense to me why we had, you know, the different types of races appear in different parts of the world, that's because these different Anunnaki were given different areas of the world to have dominion over. In a paper published in the Proceedings for the National Academy of Sciences, a team led by Michael Hammer, an associate professor and research scientist with the University of Arizona's Arizona Research Labs, provides evidence that anatomically modern humans were not so unique that they remained separate. We found evidence for hybridization between modern humans and archaic forms in Africa. I mean, my goodness. There you go. And that was all the better for these Anunnaki as well, because in the creations they created, when they went and crossbred with these other existing hominoids and the rest of this, it sort of left out the question of where those traits that came from those humans were. Well, they came from the Anunnaki, but once that crossbreeding was going on, it sort of wipes that question out of the off the plate. Interesting stuff there. Let's see what else we have here tonight. We've just about got through all of our news. Now, this is an interesting one here. Technology devised to help develop the latest computer games could find a use in a completely different field, helping fix leaky water pipes. Scientists have developed software that uses the artificially intelligent AI system, which controls video game baddies, to find leaks and raise the alarm. They hope that the technology can help them to prevent flooding, which can cause catastrophic damage to homes and businesses and cost millions. Engineers from the University of Exeter have developed an AI software for installation in water companies' control rooms. Now, as somebody who's played video games for a great amount of years, I don't play video games anymore. I haven't played them in, it's been 5 or 6 years probably since I played any video games. But I was always into, modding systems. I mean, after the Dreamcast came out and they made it very easy for you to basically rip the games and burn them on standard CDs without having to have a mod chip. After that, man, I was no longer paying for video games anymore. So when the Xbox came out, I waited for 6 months and got an X-Bit mod chip, solderless mod chip, and put a new BIOS in it and put a new hard drive in it and a new mod chip in it where I could have, unlimited games where I can play them right off the hard drive. I've got an Xbox that's got 50 or 60 games on the hard drive. You don't have to load discs or anything. It's great. So people who have been into video games and stuff for a great amount of years knows that back engineering stuff and hacking stuff and tweaks in games and hacking different games, that's just a part of it. But nobody sees the danger of using some AI software that's been made for video games to control water pipes and the flow of water underground. I mean, this is ripe for hacking. And only an idiot would use this kind of stuff, because the people who know how to hack the video game software, these guys are top notch. That's what they do. I mean, this is just, leaving an open plate for these guys to come in and manipulate this in any way they want, and the government just, claim plausible deniability. So I'm not trusting this for a second, man. My goodness. One more time for the people sitting in the cheap seats. I can't say this enough. Will you fuckers please quit saying false flag over and over again? Will you please quit wetting yourself with anticipation, hoping and praying that there's going to be a terrorist attack between now and 9/11? I am sick of this, man. That's all I've been seeing on the web. Researchers, people, what's false flag going to be? What's next false flag? Oh, I can't. Well, just pissing themselves, waiting for it. So they can make a new, loose change and be the next loose change person. And, I'm a hero because I made a movie about this. It's just sick. Sick stuff. Well, this month is our 4-year anniversary of the Global Reality, and we are going to be having some big guests on this month as we get closer to the anniversary, September 19th. And we've got to get some new computers in here, man. I need a new computer to do my work on. We're working on the same one for 4 years. We just need a lot of help to push forward and start doing this in a big way. We're not having $100,000 money bomb or a $500,000 money bomb like Alex Jones or these guys. We're not trying to raise $10 million in a week. People are giving millions and millions of dollars to people like Ron Paul and people like Alex Jones. I've been busting my butt over here for 4 years, man, scraping by barely with the help and support of my listeners and my supporters. And, now is the time for us to do this. So I need your help this month to help raise the amount that we have on the Chipping Banner so we can start doing this big and start playing with the big boys. It's time. I'm tired of, I've relegated myself to the fringe for a very long time, but I'm ready for us to start doing some damage and start taking this stuff to the masses in a big way. And I need your help to do that. So please go to my website, theglobalreality.com. Use the Chipping Banner that's there for that. And help us to be able to buy some new equipment. All this stuff is getting old, and old microphones and old mixers. We need to get some new stuff in here so we can keep this stuff vital, keep it pushing forward. And I've got to have your help to do that. So please make a donation today at theglobalreality.com. We're going to take a break, come back, check the mailbag, see if we have any emails. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. www.theglobalreality.com is my website. We're continuing in our reading series tonight from the Lost Book of Enki. Page 277 is where we pick up at tonight. No more emails. globalrealityshow@gmail.com to send an email anytime there, and I'll read it on further broadcasts. Now, this is the account of the first city of men and of kingship on earth. Now, very interesting how those things go hand in hand. The Anunnaki playing a hand in being setting up the first city of men on earth, and then also setting up kingships. And that's what I've been trying to tell people here for 4 years on this show now, is that, and it's an absolute fact if you do the research, the idea of kingship and the divine right to rule and all of this stuff, and it's very much alive in today's politics and today's rulers and leaders. All of that, the whole idea goes back to those families and those bloodlines who trace their lineage directly back to these Anunnaki. And that's how the kingships and the thrones and all this stuff were set up on Earth. So let's get into that here tonight. And how Marduk schemed to build a tower wherefore Inanna had stolen the MEs. In the first region, in the lands of the Eden, and in the cities with precincts, by their Anunnaki lords, the earthlings were taught handiworks and crafts. Before long, the fields were irrigated, and on canals and rivers, boats soon sailed. The sheepfolds and granaries were overflowing. Prosperity filled the land. Ki Engi, land of the lofty watchers, the first region was called. Then to let the black-headed people a city of their own possess, it was decided. Kishi, scepter city it was called. In Kishi did the kingship of man begin. Therein, in consecrated soil, Anu and Enlil, the heavenly bright. Now this is interesting. Therein, in consecrated soil, Anu and Enlil implanted the heavenly bright object. Now, isn't that interesting? So in consecrated ground, Anu and Enlil are implanting some heavenly bright object into the ground here. Well, what could that be? Because whatever that is, it has to do with kingship and the divine right to rule. Is this some ancient archaeological relic like the Ark of the Covenant? I don't know. In it, Ninurta appointed the first king. Mighty Man was his royal title. That was the best they could do, Mighty Man. Mighty Man, you are in charge. Run things for us here on this planet, Mighty Man. We trust you, Mighty Man, all the descendants of Mighty Man. To make it a civilized center for mankind, Ninurta journeyed to Eridu. The ME tablets that for kingship divine formulas hold from Enki to obtain. Properly attired. With respect, Ninurta entered Eridu. For the ME of kingship, he asked. Enki, the Lord who safeguards all the MEs, granted 50 ME to Ninurta. Mitochondrial extractions, DNA to create new workers, new humans. In Kishi, where the black-headed people were taught to calculate numbers. Heavenly Nisaba writing taught them, and Heavenly Ninkashi showed them beer making. No, they showed how. So beer came from aliens. Oh, all right, that's good to know. In Kishi, guided by Ninurta, kiln work and smithing proliferated. Wheeled wagons harnessed to male asses, craftily fashioned in Kishi. Laws of justice and righteous behavior were promulgated in Kishi. It was in Kishi that the people composed hymns of praise to Ninurta. Sounds like the beginning of goddess worship right there, doesn't it? Of his heroic deeds and victories, they sang. Of his awe-inspiring blackbird, they chanted. I think it's interesting that they had this craft. Ninurta has this craft called the blackbird. This ship that flies around, looks like a blackbird. Could that be where we got the technology for the SR-71 Blackbird? I mean, look at that. Look at that plane. Look at the SR-71 Blackbird. Think about that thing. They admitted they had that thing in 58, which means they had to have been working on it prior to 58, if 58 is when they admitted they had it. Yet this is long before computer-aided design and engineering and any of this stuff, yet they were able to calculate properly how to have this plane operate without a vertical fin stabilizer. It has two small fins in the back, but no vertical fin stabilizer. And I've seen documentaries talking about the SR-71 Blackbird where they're talking about, that, but they never seem to mention that, they didn't, you would have had to have computer-aided design and all that stuff to get that right. How are they able to get that right? We went from flying, prop planes just a few short years earlier in World War II to having, this supersonic thing that can fly at the threshold of space in the matter of less than 10 years. So I find that interesting. I mean, could that SR-71 Blackbird come as a result of, these ancient plans they found? Very well could have been. They've tried to retire those things so many times, but they can't because there's still, the stuff that's in them still surpasses technology we can produce today. The U-2 spy plane's the same way. Why is that? Why is there technology in these things from 40, 50 years ago we can't recreate today? That's a good question, isn't it? How in faraway lands the bisons were subdued, and how the white metal was mixed with copper, he found. Ninurta's glorious time it was. With the constellation of the Archer, he was honored. All the while, Inanna in the Unki, her lordship awaited in the third region. All the while, the domain of her own of the leaders she demanded. The third region after the second one will come, her leaders thus assured her. Having seen how Ninurta journeyed to Eridu, and how the ME of kingship he attained, Inanna devised a plan in her heart to obtain ME from Enki. She schemed. Her chambermaid, Ninurshbur, she dispatched to Eridu to announce a visit by Inanna. On hearing this, Enki quickly gave instructions to his housemaster, Izamut, the maiden, all alone, to my city, is directing her step to Eridu. When all alone she will arrive, let her enter into my inner chambers. Uh-oh. You know what Enki's thinking. He wants to pour
the semen in the womb. Pour it. Pour it into her open vagina. Pour the semen into her womb, Enki. It is your destiny to pour the semen into the womb.
Pour for her cold water to freshen her heart. Give her barley cakes with butter. Prepare sweet wine and fill the beer vessels to the rim. Yeah. See, that's worked for thousands of years. It all works. It always works. Get her drunk and then take her panties off. Enki knows what's up, man. I mean, he knows the rules. He knows what he knows what he's got to do. He's a pimp. When Inanna was alone in the abode of Enki entered, Izmud followed Enki's commands. Then when Enki greeted Inanna, he was overwhelmed by Inanna's beauty. With jewelry, Inanna was bedecked. By her thin dress, her body was revealed. When she bent down, her vulva was thoroughly admired by Enki. I can't believe I just read that.
When she bent down, her vulva was thoroughly admired by Enki. Oh yeah, I like that vulva, baby. I can see it sticking out of your dress.
Christ. So we got Anunnaki going commando now, huh? Now I like these guys. They're fucking Klingons all the way. They're fucking Klingons. Oh, these motherfuckers are hardcore. They're getting drunk, wearing no pant eyes. She's rolling in commando, dude. I mean, vulvas. Dude, when you got vulva sticking out of your dress, I mean, come on now. I mean, you're pretty much asking for it there. I mean, seriously, you're gonna come over to a dude's house. You're gonna have alcohol. You're gonna have a dress where you can see your vulva, and you're gonna expect that this dude is not gonna want to get his dick wet. I mean, come on, give me a fucking break. You got to be expecting that. Come on, ladies, you wouldn't roll over to a guy's house with a dress on with your vulva sticking out of it unless you were planning on getting some, would you? All right, well, I'll keep that in mind. Next time I see a lady walk my way, if I see her vulva sticking out of her dress, it's on. That's all I'm saying. I can't believe it just read that. When she bent down, her vulva was thoroughly admired by Enki. Looks like he's standing there, stroking his goatee or stroking his beard, admiring it. Oh, I see your vulva sticking out of your dress there. Oh, I'm just admiring it. Don't mind me. I just want to stare at it. Ladies, you got a guy that's full of shit if he ever tells you that. Just saying. If a guy ever says, "No, honey, I just want to look at it. It's pretty. I don't want to do anything to it." Bullshit. He's lying. That, or he's plays for another team. I don't know. From the wine cups, they drank sweet wine, and they had a beer drinking competition. What? Dude, Inanna is the shit. Rolling over to a homeboy's crib, fucking all with her shit hanging out and getting drunk. She's like, "Come on, bitch, I'll drink you under the table. Let's have a beer." They're shotgunning beers, and she's, she brought the fucking beer bong from the Eden, and they're just getting there. That's goddamn. I mean, that's a way to a man's heart right there. I mean, seriously. The chick that would always walk into the party or walk into the bar and be like, "I'll drink any man here under the table." I'd be like, "You're going home with me. And no, you're not going to drink me under the table." That's greatness. "Show me the Emmys," Inanna playfully said to Enki. "Let me hold Emmy in my hand." 7 times in the course of the competition, Enki gave Inanna Emmys to hold. The divine formulas for lordship and kingship, for priesthood and scribeship, for love dressing and for warring, Emmys Enki gave to Inanna to hold. For music and singing, woodworking and metals and precious stones, 94 Emmys that for civilized kingdoms are needed, Enki gave to Inanna. Holding her prizes tightly, Inanna slipped away from Enki while he was slumbering. To her boat of heaven she rushed out. To soar away, she instructed her pilot. When Enki from his slumber was awakened by Izimud, he said to Izimud, "Get a hold of Inanna now." When from Izimud that Inanna had already in her boat departed, Enki heard. To chase Inanna in Enki's skyship, Izimud he instructed. "All the enemies you must retrieve to him," he said. At the approach to Enki, Izimud Inanna's boat of heaven intercepted. To return to Eridu and face the wrath of Enki, he made her. But when Inanna was brought back to Eridu, the enemies were with her no more. She gave them to her chambermaid, Ninshubur, to the house of Anu in Unagi. Ninshubur took them. In the name of my power, in the name of my father Anu, I command you, the enemies, to return. So Enki did angrily say to Inanna, captive in his abode, he held her. When Enlil heard of this, he came to Eridu to face his brother. By right, the enemies have I obtained. Enki himself in my hand placed them. So Inanna did say to Enlil, the truth of that Enki meekly admitted. When the term of Kishi shall be completed, to Unaki kingship shall pass. So Enlil did declare. When Marduk heard all of this, he was greatly enraged, and his anger knew no bounds. Enough my humiliation has been, Marduk shouted to his father Enki. A sacred city of his own in the Eden, he forthwith demanded from Enlil. When Enlil paid no heed to Marduk's appeal, Marduk grasped his fate in his own hands. To a place that for Anu's arrival before Unagi was selected was considered. Nabu, the Agigi, and their offspring from the dispersal lands were summoned. For Marduk, therein a sacred city, a place for skyships, was established. When his followers assembled at the place, stones to build with they did not find. Marduk taught them how to make bricks and burn them by fire to serve as stone. Therewith a tower whose head the heavens can reach they were building. To thwart the plan, Enlil hurried to the place to placate Marduk with soothing words. To stop Marduk and Nabu in their endeavor, Enlil did not succeed. In Nibiru-Ki, Enlil, his sons and grandchildren were assembled. What to do, they all considered. Now listen to this. This is very interesting, and this ties in with some of the work research I've done into stargates and how that ties into ancient archaeological pieces found in ancient Iraq and Mesopotamia, exactly where this is taking place at, by the way. And this is very interesting because it says Marduk is building an unpermitted gateway to heaven and entrusting it to earthlings. So it sounds to me like Marduk is setting up a stargate that he's allowing earthlings to have knowledge of. Now, that's true to me. That 100% explains why the first place we went in 2003 during the invasion of Iraq was the Iraq National Museum to get all these antiquities that pertain to the Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian empires. So that's where we see the problem here. Okay, so Marduk was getting ready to open this Stargate, and they were having trouble because he was entrusting earthlings with the knowledge of this, and rightly so. So Enlil did say to his sons and his grandchildren, if we allow this to happen, no other matter of mankind shall be unreached. This evil plan must be stopped, Ninurta said. All agreed with that. It was nighttime when from Nibiru-Ki the Enlilite Anunnaki came. from their skyships, they rained havoc and fire and brimstones on the rising tower. To the tower and the whole encampment, they brought a complete end to it. To scatter abroad the leader and his followers, Enlil thereupon decided. Henceforth their counsels to confuse their unity, to shatter, Enlil decreed. Until now, all the earthlings had one language and spoke in a single tongue. Henceforth their language I shall confound, that they will not understand each other's speech. Ah, well, why is that important? Why is it important to have, maybe does that explain the origins of language and why we've had different people speaking different languages? Does that somehow keep us as less of a threat? I don't know. In the 310th year since the count of Earth years began, all of this did happen. In each region and every land of the people had a different tongue that he made them speak. A different form of writing thereafter to each was given, that one will not comprehend the other. Ah, see, covering tracks. Very clever. Not wanting people to know that people who brought knowledge and technology and all this stuff in religion to people all over the different parts of the world, that way people in the future would be confused, much in the way modern science tells us now, and so that we wouldn't believe that all of these came from one group of people. We would think they were all separate. That's very clever. 23 kings did reign in Kishi. For 408 years, it was the scepter city. It was also in Kishi that a beloved king, Etana, was taken for a heavenly journey. Now, that's an interesting thing, too, isn't it? That some of these kings that are humans are allowed to go to heaven, or allowed to go through the Stargate and go to Nibiru and come back. Isn't that interesting? At the allotted time, let the kingship to Unagi be transferred, so Enlil did decree. To its soil, the heavenly bright object from Kishi was transferred. When the decision was announced to the people, they sang a hymn of exaltation to Inanna, Lady of the Emmys, Queen brightly resplendent, righteous in radiance, clothed of heaven and earth, beloved, by the love of Anu consecrated, wearing great adorations. 7 times the Emmys she obtained, in her hand she is holding them. For the tiara of kingship they are appropriate, for high priesthood suitable. Again, there's that mention that the priests have this power and that the priests are ordained with this power from the Anunnaki. Very interesting and very, very important in understanding the nature of the priest class and what they do and how far it goes back in our day and age. Lady of the great Emmys, of them she is the guardian. In the 409th year, after the count of Earth years began, kingship of the first region to Unagi was transferred. Its first king was the high priest of the Inanna temple abode, a son of Utu he was. As for Marduk, to the land of 2 Narrows he went, to be the master of the second region once established, he expected. So they're sending Marduk off to another region yet again, where he's expecting to be reigning over. We'll see how that goes. Page 283, now this is the account of how the second and third regions were established, and how Nigazida was exiled and Unagi Arata was threatened. 283. 283. So we'll stop there and pick up there tomorrow on the broadcast. Continues to get interesting in the end. We just, man, very enlightening stuff. I'm so glad that we've decided to read these books that we have in a row, because, I still see people. I still read things and see videos all the time where people are still making assumptions still using stuff about the Anunnaki out of context, just repeating bad info and misquoted info they've heard from radio shows and other YouTube videos and authors and stuff like that. To me, it's been really important for us to get down to the meat and potatoes of this and read this stuff and go through it for ourselves. Again, just to see what's what and come to our own conclusions. But there's just way too much here in this stuff to ignore, and it's getting very interesting. We'll have to continue reading more of this stuff once we get done with Lost Book of Enki as well. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. That's our show. My website is theglobalreality.com. Use the chip-in banner or the donate button there to please support our work. We do need your support right now. We need as many donations as we can get this month so we can push this forward and take this to a new level. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you tomorrow for the broadcast. You guys have a great night. Take care.